Shalom Yasharala, Kal HALALYAM YAHAWAH BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM QADASH. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone that rule well and taught us His truth through the Spirit. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the sincere Akim Wa'akwatkim, listening and learning and being doers of the word. The brethren, pushing the word out in truth and sincerity, making their bodies a living sacrifice in these last days. And to the speckled bird that look like the other nations but are really Yasharala, Shalom. Alright, so I want to start off by reading Genesis chapter 19, verse 29. Starting at 29. And it came to pass, when Yahweh destroyed the cities of the plain, that Yahweh remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. So this is when Lot was being taken out of Sodom and Gomorrah, because Yahweh was destroying it for its wickedness, sodomy, which is homosexuality. Alright, so Lot was fleeing because the Lord sent angels to warn him to leave, because he was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And he told him, don't look back, just go and leave. His wife looked back, she turned into a pillar of salt. So just Lot and his two daughters escaped. Okay, verse 30. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. So his two daughters thought that Sodom and Gomorrah was the whole world. They, being, the carnal, unwise women that they were, they thought that that was it. They thought that that was the end of the world. So they said, there's no more men left in the world. We need to procreate, pretty much. Verse 32. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Alright, so they knew Lot wasn't going to be with that. He probably wasn't going to be with that sober, so they had to get him to drink and get him drunk. Alright, which is still wicked, regardless of whether you're drunk or not. Nothing should make you sleep with your daughters, but that's what they did. So this is premeditated. This is like a date rape. Alright, so they pretty much, they're planning on raping their father, their own dad. And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Alright? Salakia, 1 second. Alright. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. So the first one did what she wanted to do. Now they're planning the second attempt for the younger daughter. Alright. So they got Lot drunk twice, and he just did this. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their own father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. Okay, so the first daughter had a child with Lot, and their baby was named Moab. Moab is the father of the Moabites, aka the Chinese, so-called Chinese man, woman, and child. Okay. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. And who is Ammon? The Ammonites, the so-called Japanese. Alright, now I want to get into this this event real quick in history, right? Called the Nanjing, or the Rape of Nanking. The Nanjing Massacre, commonly known as the Rape of Nanking. Alright, so basically, well, let me read this. It was an infamous war crime committed by the Japanese military in and around the then capital of China, Nanjing, after it fell to the Imperial Japanese Army on December 13, 1937. The duration of the massacre is not clearly defined, although the violence lasted well into the next 6 weeks until early February 1938. So basically, the Japanese army invaded China. The Chinese ruler at the time, he ordered all the troops to leave Nanjing, but he left and prohibited the citizens from evacuating, and the unexperienced, trainees, the soldier trainees, or infantry, or whatever they're called. He said they stay there. So he made them stay there. They did not allow them to leave. Although some people still, fled because they were like, hell no, that's some bullshit. Alright, this was during the Second Sino-Japanese War. Alright. After the Battle of Shanghai. Alright. So basically, now this was this particular event was atrocious because of course, not only mass murder but mass rape, which is just, it's not uncommon for rape to occur during war, but this was noteworthy because it was like, I believe around 200,000 casualties, 200,000 people killed, and around 80,000, maybe more, women were raped. Alright? These Ammonites, aka the Japanese, were raping the Moabites, aka the Chinese. And what did Lot's daughters do to him? They raped him. And it gets deeper than that, so this is an example of someone's diary. A girl, stories of girls taken from their homes last night. One of them was only 12 years old. Around 8 or 10 girls. They called out Juming, save our lives. Alright. At least 1,000 cases a night, and many by day. In case of resistance or anything that seems like disapproval, there's a bayonet stab or a bullet. Alright. So, perhaps up to 80,000 women were raped, ages ranging from infants to the elderly as old as 80, often performed in public during the day, sometimes in front of spouses or family members. A large number of them were systematized in a process where soldiers would search door to door for young girls. So they were specifically going to war, going like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. We're gonna go and specifically go door to door looking for girls to rape. Alright? So they went with the intention of doing this wholeheartedly. Ammon, right? And I don't think I need to get into how disgusting Ammon is to this day. With all kinds of weird anime shit. The molestation that happens in public transport. The sexism like blatant actual misogyny that Ammonite women go through on a day-to-day basis, and they accept it just as a part of their lives, like it's just normal, like how it just has to be. They have a saying called, I believe it's called, I believe they say shogunai or something like that, meaning it can't be helped. Oh well, I'll just deal with it. Alright, and women, Ammonite women themselves have taken note. Wow, a lot. There was one, I was watching a video by Asian Boss or That Japanese Man Utah, or one of these Japanese questionnaire channels or interview channels, and their women, young women themselves said, oh, Japanese men are all pedophiles, or they're all predators. They themselves have admitted things like this. And you look at, like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Many women taken captive and gang raped. Women were then killed immediately after the rape, often by mutilation. Some were forced into military prostitution as comfort women, even stories of Japanese troops forcing families to commit acts of incest. Now, where did Moab and Ammon even come from? From incest. Incest and rape. That's why they are called Mongoloids, because they look like they have Down syndrome. And that's Esau, aka the so-called white man's science, that says that. Not me, not my own words, that's science. And it's true, because that's their origins. Genesis 19 tells you, from verse 29 onwards, Lot's two daughters made him drink, got him drunk, raped him. That's incest. They had children, Moab and Ammon, 2 sons. Alright? Sons were forced to rape their mothers, fathers were forced to rape their daughters. One pregnant woman was getting raped by Japanese soldiers, gave birth only a few hours later. The baby was perfectly healthy. Monks who had declared a life of celibacy were forced to rape women for the amusement of the Japanese, of the Ammonites. Moabite men were forced to have sex with corpses. Any resistance would be met with summary executions. While the rape peaked immediately following the fall of the city, it continued for the duration of the Japanese occupation. Alright? And then, not to mention murder. Alright? So, this is Moab and Ammon. This is Ammon. Alright, especially Ammon. They're just obsessed with this shit. They joke about it in their media. They engage in it daily. They get off on it. They enjoy this shit. Now, and Esau's the same way. Esau's even worse. I wanted to get into this not only to highlight how sick and twisted Moab and Ammon are, mostly Ammon, but F Moab too. Mostly Ammon, the so-called Japanese are sick people. They're disgusting people, but also like to highlight the fact that we don't do shit like this. YAHAWADAH does not engage in twisted fantasies or disgusting desires and these crimes. YAHAWADAH does not engage in this shit, and the Lord teaches us what to do in war, right? Because you might see a attractive woman of the other nations that you go and you defeat, right? So Deuteronomy 21:10, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord Yahweh hath delivered them into thine hands. Alright, so we win a war, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. So right off the bat, you see a beautiful woman and you desire her, that means you want to wife her. That doesn't mean you can just grab her up, have sex with her, and kill her or throw her to the wayside instantly, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Alright, you want to wife this heathen. Alright, verse 12, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So not only you don't just immediately grab her and smash her, or do whatever you want. No, there's an order even to these things. Even to this, there's order to it. Okay? We're not savages and barbarians. Even we have respect to some degree. Alright? It's not, I respect those who respect me. No, that's Esau's way of thinking. No, you respect everyone. You respect the wildlife, whether they can fulfill a social contract or not. You respect the, nature, the plants and animals, and all that. You respect the sea. You don't dump trash in it. You don't spill oil in there for some scheme to warm the temperatures and control the weather. You have respect, natural respect for the world and everything in it. Alright? It's just the standard. Alright? Yes, the Lord says that the heathen are nothing, but it's not like we're just gonna go around, we can just go around, murdering them. Like, no, that's not right. To everything there's, there needs to be decency and order to it. Okay? So she just went through a war. Her family is dead. You most likely killed her dad and her brothers, her cousins, so on and so forth. Maybe some of the women ended up catching stray bullets. So her sisters and maybe aunties or whoever's dead too. Okay? So you let her mourn for a whole month. You take her to your house. She takes off the whatever bullshit she was wearing. She puts on new clothes. She stays in your house, mourns her family a month, and after that, then she's your wife. But she's your lesser wife, alright? Because concubine is still a wife, but she's just at a lower level than your Israelite wife, alright? So like it says, she shall be thy wife, you shall be her husband. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all for money. So you can't even pimp her out, you can't sell her off to some other brother or whatever. There's still a sense of decency, order, and respect to it. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. Okay, so you treat her with respect, and you do it according to what the Lord tells you to do. And this shows you that we are the best people on earth, because we have respect even for these heathens to an extent, to the natural order of respect that we have for the world. It's not like these Ammonites that were committing these atrocities to their brother, really. Moab is Ammon's brother, his older brother. So these people are sick. And Esau's with this too. All these nations are with this. Alright, their rulers allow this. They don't suffer any consequences for these war crimes. They just don't care. They encourage it, and this is what their rulers are into as well. Alright, this is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 10:2. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So, if the ruler is a certain way, his people are going to be the same way. Okay? The ruler is a certain way, his people are going to be the same. Because you rule, you make the rules, the laws. Obviously, well, Yahweh ordains our rules and our laws. But we had wicked rulers in Yasharallah before, and that caused us to go off as well. So, even with Yahweh's laws in place, we have a king of our brethren set up over us in order to, be, and the priests, we have examples, natural role models in a sense. So that's the influence that we have. Okay? And then jumping down to verse 4, it says, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. So everything is in the Lord's hands, YAHAWASHI's hands. So even though it is like this now, the Lord will set up one that is profitable in due time. He will set us back in the power seat when the time is right, after all the prophecies are fulfilled. Now this is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So if we were in authority, if we were ruling, the Nanjing massacre would not have happened, because we wouldn't even have allowed these heathens to do this to each other. Alright? If we're not even allowed to do that to heathens, what makes you think that heathens are allowed to do this to anyone else? Anyone. Alright? This is Psalms 96:5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Alright, so this is why we look to YAHAWASHI as our power. Okay, because he's the only true power, the only true God, which, God goes back to the word Allahayam or Alayam, which means powers or the powers of heaven. And that would be YAHAWASHI, the angels, us when we get back into our incorruptible bodies, or not back, but when we get our incorruptible bodies, and when we get back into the power seat, when we come back into rulership. Okay? Because these other nations have idols, well, I'm not even going to say their names. You know what the idols are. So they don't know, or they know and they choose to still do these things because they want to walk according to their own ideologies and philosophies and religions. Alright? So that's why the Lord needs to set up, or he's going to set up, the profitable rulers, which is Yasharallah. Alright, and that also says in 1 Chronicles 16:26, for all the gods of the people are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Now this is Obadiah 1:10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And this is talking about Esau, and how he's had a perpetual hatred towards us since the beginning. Since the spirit of Cain towards Abel. Alright? In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. And casting lots is like rolling dice, which is an ancient custom of the Israelites. which that shows you that the Israelites were the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, so-called, of today, because that's something that we do. We, play dice, different things like that. So that's something that the heathens stole from us. So they've been stealing from us since the beginning. All right. So Esau was one of these strangers that were carrying us away captive. Choosing, casting lots to decide, oh, you get this part, I get this part, or you get them, I get this. Like we're something that they can just take. Verse 12, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of YAHAWADAH in the day of their destruction. So you should have never took advantage of us. You should have never did this. All right, that's what Yahweh is saying. You should have never rejoiced over our calamity. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. So Esau literally would go out and catch the ones that were fleeing. So even while we were fleeing, he would go and still capture us and bring us into captivity and murder us and rape us, so on and so forth. All right. Now there's another verse I want to bring out real quick before I finish this. Salakia. I'm trying to remember how. I believe it's in Zechariah or Zephaniah. Zechariah 1:15. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Okay? So we were getting punished, and the Lord uses heathens as a tool for our punishments, but they always take it too far. They always go overboard. They always want to keep us in subjection. They always want to do things that we would never do. We're not going to rape people. We're not going to be sodomizing people. But that's what Esau and these other nations have been doing. Okay? That's something that we're not even going to do to these heathens when they're in captivity in the kingdom. See, that's why the Lord is letting their sins reach unto heaven, so he can bring them down with a very severe, harsh punishment during the time of trouble. That's why he's not going to have mercy on them. Alright? Back in Obadiah 1, or Obadiah as a book, because it's only one chapter. Verse 15. For the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. Like it says in Revelation. Recompense unto her double. As she has rewarded us, so shall it be done unto her. Babylon. Okay? For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, which is Yasharallah, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Yaquab shall possess their possessions, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, or the house of Yaquab shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. Alright. So that's it. I don't want to make this too long. Salakia. Didn't want to make this too long. That's pretty much all I wanted to go into. Abad Babal. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Kwam Yasharala. And it's on to the next one.